Okay, so let's talk about intellectual privilege, which is the actual privilege we need to worry about. I don't consider white privilege a thing. If you're white identified, yes, you have some advantages, but that's really just a side effect of rich privilege, which is the other real privilege. There's rich privilege and there's intellectual privilege, and those intertwine. But right now, I want to focus on intellectual privilege. Now, here's the thing with intellectual privilege. Most intellectuals have high incomes. The reason why they have high incomes is because intellectual industries, which are industries with a heavy concentration of intellectuals, let's say STEM industries. If you'll notice, we're talking about right now are large corporations, large industries not paying taxes. It's not a coincidence that the companies, the industries, the corporations that are least likely to pay taxes are those intellectual industries. Those industries with a high concentration of intellectuals are the basis is intellectuals. Take Amazon, take these tech companies. Okay, these companies have a high concentration of intellectuals, engineers, programmers, data scientists. They're not paying taxes. That's not a coincidence. Let's look at other intellectual industries, like the healthcare industry. Um, you have the high intellectuals in that. You have the doctors and the nurses. And let's also add in the justice industry, or the legal industry. Then you have the lawyer types and the judges. Again, if you notice, those industries, those corporations are corrupt. They have unjust practices, which is why those intellectual industries are able to pay such a high income. Lawyers and those types and politicians make so much money because the punitive industry is so broken. Doctors and nurses make so much money because the medical industry is broken. Go to these other developed countries, and the doctors and those types are not paid that much like there are in the doctors that here in the USA. Intellectual immigrants flock here to take advantage and to exploit the other classes, because all these intellectual industries are so high paying because they're corrupt and because they're broken and they're built on exploitation. And a lot of these intellectuals are aware of it. A lot of these intellectuals are conscious of it. A lot of intellectuals look down on the other intelligences, because we do need to clarify intellect is just one type of intelligence. And these intellectuals look down on us, which makes them comfortable with exploiting us. So I believe we really need to keep an eye out on intellectual privilege. Yes, I do think intellectuals should be paid higher than the other classes, but a lot of the times they're paid 4, 5 times as more than the other classes. Okay, intellectuals. I'm not completely bashing intellectuals. They are a type of intelligence. They do intellectual labor. They contribute into society in all sorts of ways. But their intelligence is not the only one that is used, and it's not the only one that's important. Take a store cashier or a store stocker who's averaging $25,000 a year. They'll call them low skill. Those jobs aren't easy. Those jobs require types of intelligence, and those jobs are important. Um, Intellectuals are not working harder than us. They're really not. They'll say that they're high skilled, but you acquiring those skills are not that hard in actuality. You have that type of intelligence, so that's going to come easy to you. So you're just being yourself, really. Um, so when you have these other jobs, these nursing assistants, these intellectuals are not working harder than nursing assistants, which takes kinesthetical intelligence or body intelligence. When you're being on your feet for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day, it takes social intelligence when you're dealing with, when these fast food cashiers, these store cashiers are dealing with 4, 5, 600 customers a day. I'm not going to all, and those are just a few types of intelligences. All intelligences are important. So why are these intellectuals being paid 4 or 5 times more than us? It doesn't make sense. And how they're being paid 4 or 5 times more than us is because they're not paying taxes. It's because they're exploiting us. It's because the systems are broken and they like it that way. So we need to keep an eye out for these sinister intellectuals. And we need to demand our worth and our value.